Hello, thanks for joining us. Well, it's back. International football has bid farewell for at least a few months, and we're back with Super Sunday. Games this week, some people argue not that interesting. Me and Gio completely disagree. We think there's some really good angles here. I'll be sharing the ORBG members' views via our app and also via our Twitter pages. You get involved, don't forget to follow ORBG on Twitter, subscribe to our videos, and you'll get all these sent to you. But I must first of all say, hi Gio, Super Sunday, not the big teams, but a pretty exciting day anyway.
Yeah, it should be a game that results can be a bit skew with and go anywhere, actually. I think this is one of those days where it's going to be tricky to bet on, actually.
Tricky, but the trickier days usually land the better price odds and results. We start today with a game that I think will be quite interesting. I might be putting my neck on the line and saying something ridiculous here. I don't think it'll be boring, and that's Sunderland versus Spurs, two teams that arguably have been a bit boring so far this season. Gio, we're going to try and beat the bookies on this game. What's your view on each team before we go any further? Don't give us away too much about what you're betting on, but give us your view on each team individually. We'll start with the home side, Sunderland.
A bit shambles so far, has it? The first couple of games where they've got a little bit better in the last couple, but still they're not impressing. It's going to be a long season for the Black Cats, I think. I think their biggest mistake was selling Connor Wickham, in all honesty. I think he was key to Advocaat's game plan and style. I was very surprised they sold him, actually, because when we did the relegation show ages ago, I said they'd be okay because of Wickham. Cheers, Dick Advocaat.
Yeah, he's now residing at my club, Crystal Palace, and he looks all right. I'm not going to judge him on a couple of games when he's not been fully fit. We'll wait and see how he does for us, but he's certainly brave and would suit an aerial presence rather than leaving Jermaine Defoe to try and battle it out, or Stephen Fletcher, depending on how Sunderland line up. Gio, Spurs. Oh, I don't know. I tell you what, I get frustrated by Spurs and I don't support them. So if you're watching this and you support Spurs, you've got my sympathy, because I don't know how they do it. They just look pretty average.
Well, you're just putting me up for some bait there by saying they're average. I agree. I think they're struggling, but they've got a key signing in Son. Really impressed with that signing. When they signed him, I thought, no, I don't want Tottenham signing him. My West Ham allegiance says no, but fantastic signing. But they've been so poor so far. They're just, again, flat.
Okay. So I'm going to pull you up with something. Hold on. Right. So Son's a fantastic signing. Okay? And now you told me before we started this show you watch a little bit of German football, so I'm going to pick your brains on him. But. Mourinho sat there, proven Premier League quality, young striker, and there sounds like there was a difference of about £3 million in price. Would he not have been a sensible option rather than an unproven player that may not take to the Premier League when Spurs, the one thing they need is goals?
I think he'll be okay in the Premier League, actually, but I'm surprised he didn't get better. I thought it was done. I thought it was just a case of when and how much rather than if. But again, like the John Stones, fair play to the chairman for putting his foot down and saying, no, you're not getting him. There's obviously a lot of things come out about how Tottenham wished to pay West Brom, overstaged payments and so on. But I actually feel a bit for Pulis here. He prepared for Berahino going away. He almost sacrificed points in the first few games by not playing Berahino so he could leave, and he had his team set up to cope without him. But is he back for the game? Do you know, is Berahino going to feature for West Brom this weekend?
Rumoured to be, yes. But we shall save that for a different day, because Spurs didn't sign Berahino. If they have got Son, he is going to feature, we expect. They've still got Harry Kane, who, whilst he's not the lightning start, he obviously scored midweek on international duty. Listen, Harry Kane's a great player, and people have been slating Rooney a lot longer for his goal drought, if you like. But Harry Kane is a bit younger. He's going to find it harder this year. So I don't think we need to be worrying too much about Kane not scoring yet, do we, Gio?
Nah, there's too much pressure on his shoulders already. You know, he's done well for 7 months. He didn't even start at the start of last season. He was playing the Europa League games against pub teams only. So he's done well, but there's too much pressure on him. I've seen Harry Kane's interview saying that defenders know how to play against him this season. They know about him. And I thought that's a valid point, actually. They probably do. They probably studied him a lot more, because before, when you went to play him last season, you had nothing to go on. He's emerged. You didn't know anything about him. You could only go by the last few games in the Premiership. But this season, now you can look back at last seasons and study how they played. And Premier League clubs these days have these people in the background looking at videos and analysis and giving their defenders DVDs, etc., to watch exactly how to come up against a striker. And he's going to struggle, but this is going to be a learning curve for him on how to adapt this game and have plan B in his locker.
Very true. Well, neither team has managed to successfully win a fixture so far, which is a little bit concerning given we're entering game week 5. Last 10 now, this is a stat that's going to blow Gio's socks off, because I know he's going to try and get Spurs beat here. The last 10 games in the league between the two teams seen 7 Spurs wins and just 3 draws. Sunderland have won none. They haven't won any, Gio. What's your view on that?
Tottenham used to be better than they are today. They used to have Bale, they used to have Modric. Nowadays, they've obviously got Kane, and Eriksen had an injury the last couple of games, and obviously they've got their new signing. But
Spurs don't need Gareth Bale to win this, surely, Gio. Come on. This is Sunderland.
So, they're on the Premier League in merit. Everyone keeps saying they're going to go down, but they're still here. Every season they get tipped to go down, they're still here. And, they've not had great players. They've not had great managers. I don't think, but yet they somehow still manage to keep their heads above water, and better sides have been relegated.
Very true. Like their own West Ham, and they had Joe Cole and friends. Obviously, one thing I would say regarding this fixture, several of the Spurs players have swapped sides. We've got Kabul and obviously Defoe up playing their football in the Northeast now. Defoe coming back to haunt his old team, do we think, or can he not do it with the creativity lacking around him?
He's one of those players in Premier League who needs very little chances. You give him a couple of chances a game, you'll probably tuck one away. But he can score a wide range of goals. That's why I like him at Defoe. He'll take his tap in the 6-yard box, but he'll also smash a volley from 30 yards as well. He's fantastic. His all-round game, this type of thing that Harry Kane needs to be looking at, thinking how has Defoe maintained this level all through his career, looking at him. But Defoe's got a wide range of goals. It's a strike partner that I don't like, I'm afraid.
No, that's absolutely fine. You're allowed to have that view. Quick shout on the last stat we had there: 2.89 goals on average in this fixture, which is slightly above what you'd want to be looking at, I suppose, if you like to play the overs market. It's not that significant, but it's still a pretty strong stat. Gio, even money with Paddy Power for over 2.5 goals. Is that possibly one we've let slide in our research? I've only just spotted it.
I think it's just too hard to call this game in terms of goals, though.
Sunderland can't defend, Gio. Spurs don't have to be world beaters to get 3 points here.
But Spurs' main striker's not scored in the league yet. I know he scored 2 for England, but one of them was against San Marino. I could score against San Marino. But I'll give him the confidence boost he needs. And maybe this is the game where he will click. And he'll probably might bag a hat-trick, and then everyone will be scratching their head saying, what was I worrying about with Harry Kane? But Dick Advocaat's had 2 weeks to get this Sunderland side sorted out. There's not many of their players on international duty, I wouldn't imagine. I don't know. I wouldn't imagine there is. He's had 2 weeks now to get this team sorted and into shape. And it's no secret who his opponents are on Sunday. So if he's not got his side prepared and with a good hiding so far, then, I'd be worried. But your first stat said that Tottenham haven't won a game either this season. So, you have to judge them by the same thing.
Interesting. Well, you're probably sensed by now, I've been fighting the OLBG members' corner, who are very confident of a Tottenham win, 19-20 with Sky Bet. It's buying money, they're telling me. I'm not so sure I'll be that confident, but I think people are really put off Sunderland at the moment, apart from you, Gio. So come on, give us your reasoning behind Sunderland double chance. That means that Sunderland can obviously draw the game or they can win the game.
It's not so much about Sunderland, it's about Tottenham. I cannot back Tottenham just the way they've been playing so far this season. If everyone out there just right now for this second closes their eyes and just thinks, who always lets me down in an ACA? Tottenham will probably be up there at the top. And I know they let you down a lot as well. So why do people keep putting them in their accumulators if they're the ones that keep letting them down, I can see why they're going for Tottenham, because on paper they should be thrashing Sunderland. They've got the better team, but I don't know. There's just something about that Spurs side that's just not clicking. I don't think there's something missing, and I'm a bit worried that their transfer activity has let their manager down a wee bit, actually.
But Gio, if there's something missing from that Spurs side, there's about 4 things missing from that Sunderland side, surely. You mentioned Connor Wickham.
Yeah, though I do think he's a massive loss, but I don't know. I just think Sunderland can't be that bad again, can they? You know, they've surely gone through their really, really bad spell. Dick Advocaat's a good manager. He is a good coach. And I think I'd be very surprised and majorly disappointed if, again, they just threw away their game completely. But they've also got a couple of good young players coming through Sunderland. I don't know his name. I went to write it down, but I actually forgot. Now, he's scored 2 this season already. One was in the Cup. And I'd be looking at him to get on the score sheet, actually. I think he's maybe an attacking midfielder. I don't know enough about him. He's a young lad at Sunderland. He's a local boy. When they got a hiding by someone earlier in the season, he scored their goal at the end of the game, and he got a standing ovation for it, quite because he was only there trying. But I'd really be looking at him. I think it was maybe your Crystal Palace that thumped them, actually.
Yes. Well, I'll let you ponder on your youthful Sunderland player, but I want to defend the OLBG members here, because you represent one of them, which is yourself, but I represent the rest of them. Spurs aren't great, okay? Let's get that out there. But they went to Old Trafford and were unlucky. I think that's fair to say, a little bit unlucky. United weren't that amazing, and the Spurs went there and tried to play football. They haven't set the world alight this season, no. I'll get you that. But I think a player like Ali in the midfield is going to come alive. I think there's some more creativity there. They're in transition, which I think we seem to say about Spurs all the time, post-Vale, if you like. But I'd be staggered if Sunderland have got enough to hold them off. I just think defensively they were so poor, the opening game, so poor. I don't know how you think that's not going to suddenly... 2 weeks working with players isn't going to turn them into world beaters, Gio. Might organise them better, but that's it.
But they possess a goal threat, Sunderland. What team do you rate better, Tottenham or Swansea? Who team do you think is better right now, Tottenham or Swansea?
Well, Swansea.
Right, well, Swansea didn't win at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah. Okay, so Gio's using that as his particular form line. The OLBG members are probably looking at their eyes. He's waving his hand at me. I better let him get one more point in before we move on to the next game.
Sunderland have had 6 games at home under Advocaat. They've only lost 2. Now, it's not a great record, but for a team at the bottom of the league, you know, it's a tougher place to go than people think.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, we'll leave it there on that particular game. But, Gio, just to remind everyone, I'll tell them you're going on draw or Sunderland. The OLBG members are going completely different to try and beat the bookies. They are going for a Spurs win. It might not be in many accumulators because Spurs do have a nasty habit of letting you down, as Gio's mentioned. But I think at the prices, I'd be leaning towards the OLPG members bet. Sorry, Gio. Which moves us on to our next game on Super Sunday. Gio, we are looking at this one. It's going to be, I think, the most obvious game of the weekend to predict. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Let's have a wee chat around, well, I think a fantastic rejuvenated side that I thought would struggle, Leicester, taking on a side I thought would be all right, and they haven't been. It's Aston Villa.
Yeah, Leicester's really impressed me. I've seen him a couple of times this season now, and I actually liked Ranieri more than I thought I would. I didn't think he was the right coach, but when he got asked about what he does, he just said he does nothing different. He took over a winning side. He's not changing anything. And I thought, that's exactly what he needed to do, isn't it? Just carry on. He's introduced his new signings bit by bit. He's drip feeding them into that team, so he's not disrupting anything. But he's still including his new signings in there. I've been very impressed by Leicester.
Yeah, I think that's the overall sensation and feeling that the OLPG forum and members are giving me as well. When I sit and compile the tips, I like to look at the strength of views. And this weekend, this team to win at home is on a par with Manchester United at home, albeit they face a rival. It's stronger than Chelsea. The view is, the groundswell is that Leicester are the good things of the weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've kind of given away my own tip later on, but I didn't get it. Normally, as you know, I stay away from outright markets. I very rarely touch them because I just think, I don't know, I just do not like them. I don't think there's much value there. I think there's value elsewhere in games. But Leicester just, I see no reason not to think they'll win this one, Sam. Villa, however, I don't know. What do you think about Villa?
I think Villa is an I don't know kind of team right now. Aston Villa, listen, on the face of it, Sherwood's done some good business. I've always liked Scott Sinclair. I think he's a good player. I saw him play for Crystal Palace. Then he sort of went around the houses a bit. He had a good spell at Swansea. He's a good player. And if he can get him playing, great, fantastic. But the rest of the signings he's made are going to need more time. Gusted looks like a battering ram, which is not that attractive to watch. You know, they were in for Adebayor. I think it's a blessing they didn't get him. I don't think he's going to get you the goals that are worth paying that kind of money for. My fear with Villa is Sherwood wants to play attacking football, but I think he's lost the equipment to do it with. He's not managed to, you replace Benteke with Gusted. It's a bit of a downgrade, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But he's also lost Delph, who contributed quite a lot attackingly as well at Villa. They've got Grealish, and he needs to start sparking something out to keep up with the hype from last season, if you like. But they also got that other striker, Ayew.
I liked him a lot.
I don't know. I watched him against Man U, I want to say, and I thought he was awful. I just thought, I just thought it was one of the first time I've ever seen a player. I thought it was one of the poorest performances I've seen. But
hold on. But Man United don't concede. That's their thing this season. They are defensively strong, or have been grinding out 0-0s or only conceding one goal. Come on, you got to be fair to him. You can't judge a player in one game, Gio.
No, but it was his first touch and his control, and I wasn't very impressed. So I'm going to be staying away from him for a while, and I'm going to be observing from a major far distance to see how he does at Villa. But I actually hope Villa do well, because I do actually like Tim Sherwood. I do think he is a breath of fresh air for managers. But I think this game's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, Leicester, I think, it made some key signings. We'll just touch on the transfer window because it only recently shut. Inler in midfield. I just noted his price. One bookie's got him down. Boyle Sports at 10-1 first goal. Stan James has got him at 25-1. What's the story of this boy? He can play a bit, can't he?
I don't know a great deal about him. I just know he's coming with a reputation, to be honest, Sam.
I'll tell you this, Joe. He can play a bit. He's a big signing. He's a signing that I'm not saying top four should have been looking at, but he's a good player. And much in the same way they had a midfielder that can pull strings last season in Cambiasso, I think they're not going to struggle with Inler in the midfield. Also, player you'll know a bit more about, Nathan Dyer. I thought it was an inspired loan signing for a team that are going to aim to be finishing the same kind of area as Swansea.
It's a safe signing. I think that's why I would describe it as. They know exactly what they're getting, and it's not a bad one either. It gives them depth in the width area. We spoke about this on the deadline when it happened, that we were surprised Swansea let him go. It's a bit of a risk, actually. But
I wouldn't have go there. I'd have sent him down a division or to someone like a Sunderland who is struggling, not a direct rival, because Leicester at the moment are.
Yeah, especially, I know what you mean. Leicester are flying, but we'll see. I don't think he's going to get a lot of game time, actually, at Leicester, so I'm surprised Leicester went after him, because they've got quite a lot of options in the forward area and in the width as well. So I'm surprised they took him in, but it's the other signing I like, Okazaki. I really like him, actually. He looks like a really decent striker.
He's in my fantasy team, actually. Funny you mention him, but he's going to be getting the boot this week because he's not been doing the business. Let's give you the stats that we're going to use to try and help beat the bookies. So just a couple we picked up on. Obviously, Leicester unbeaten this season. Villa, 1 loss, drawn. It's a tough game to try and restart your season after a break, isn't it, Gio, for Villa?
Yeah, I think Sherwood's going to be dreading this one, actually, because Leicester are buzzing, but also the stat I've got here is Villa's let in 11 in their last 4 aways. That's not a good stat to have at all.
No, especially when this game has averaged around 3 goals a game, and you can get over 2.5 goals. Just looking now, Boyle Sports are offering, and William Hill 10-11. We haven't got that as one of our suggested bets, but I think I might have a play at that.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's a lot better value than I thought, because in the calendar year 2015, only City, Arsenal, and Chelsea have scored more than Leicester City, and they're obviously coming up against a leaky defence here. I actually think there could be a whipping on the cards here, Sam.
Okay, we should probably suggest people go have a little hunt around if you're watching this and you want to try and beat the bookies. Have a little hunt around. Maybe look at something like, I don't know, home side to win and over 2.5 goals in the match. They're markets that are proving more and more popular with people. Gio, something I know tipped up on the show before, so you're aware of it. Perhaps if we'd had a little bit more time to see those stats, we'd be tipping that up as well, rather than the straight win. It leads me to go on to the tips, Gio. It's pretty straightforward. As our rather jokey slide will show you, we're expecting one-way traffic. OLBG members fully agree. So for the first time for this weekend's games, if you want to check out the others, just click through our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and comment and give us your views as well. Joe's bet is going to be Leicester to win, which he's got down as with Coral at 20 to 23. The OLBG members completely agree. Gio, what tends to happen when you both agree?
It very rarely happens, does it? But it usually comes in anyway. So
you're at around a 75% success rate. I noted when I looked back through the tips that we've had so far this season that members and Gio himself agree on. Just checking through those best prices. It's now 19 to 20 with Coral, so similar kind of price, but I think it looks huge.
It's overpriced. I can't believe it's that price, actually. If this was a big team with Leicester's form, it would be 1 to 3. You'd get no value whatsoever. The bookies would have sucked the life out of this game. But for some reason, they're dangling this carrot. They either think Leicester are going to slip up or something. They must think Leicester have got something coming. But I've got a wee outsider here, actually. Leicester City have scored 3-headed goals this season already. And you can get the first goal method in the game. So it counts for either team at 4 to 1. And that's something I'm going to have a nibble on because I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game. I think it's going to be really open at both ends. And Leicester play really wide football. I've seen them against West Ham. They play down that wing. Vardy goes out wide and swings the crosses in as well. 4 to 1 for the first goal to be a header is something I'm going to have a wee bite on.
Wow, okay. I'll just give, we mentioned earlier in the show, the Leicester and over 2.5. I can tell you that Betfair right now, as we film this, are offering 15 to 8. I will be going to avail Betfair some of those odds. I think they're great. Gio, thank you so much for your coverage on these Super Sunday games. Guys, subscribe, like the video, share them, and comment. If you think Gio's mad and he's wrong, if you're a Villa fan, defend your team. If you're a Spurs fan, you probably definitely want to have a word with him because I think he's talking rubbish, and so do the OLPG members. Don't forget to subscribe and you'll be able to join us next week when we preview all the other games. Check them out. Thanks, Gio.
No problem. Good night.